Have you checked out all the new handicappers at WagerTalk? If not, here's your chance. You can take 50% off your first daily or 3-day all-access purchase at WagerTalk using coupon code TRYWT. Our new roster of experts is 30 deep, covering sports from all around the world, giving you tons of options to choose from. All you have to do to redeem this offer is go to WagerTalk.com, choose a handicapper of your choice, and use coupon code TRYWT at checkout, saving 50% on your first purchase.
I'm back. I'm in Toronto. Snuck in. Prez is on assignment. Housekeeping said the door was open, so Teddy covers. I'm in the apartment. I'm going to rummage around a little while we bring on our guests, and I'll keep you updated throughout the hour. This is WagerTalk Today. It is Thursday, November 3rd. Haven't been here since October, but it is November 3rd, Thursday. We are inching closer to the weekend of college and pro football, hockey, NBA on a daily basis, World Series Game 5 tonight. We will be talking about that as well. I am Steve Merrill. I'll be here today and tomorrow, filling in for the Prez, and that is my co-host, Rocksteady Teddy Covers from Las Vegas, Nevada. Teddy, what's going on?
Oh, we got a loaded show today. Adam Trigger is going to talk Philadelphia and Houston. Whatever you want to talk Philadelphia and Houston, Adam Trigger is going to do it. Whether it's a World Series, whether it's the NFL, we're going to break them both down right here at the top of the show. Bryan Power is going to talk Texas Tech, TCU, Virginia, North Carolina in college football. Kelly in Vegas as well will keep her focus on college football for today's show. And, of course, in my big game breakdown, we're going to talk a little Sunday night NFL, Chiefs and Titans. So we do have a loaded show on a football Thursday.
Love it. A lot of college and pro football and, of course, World Series as well. And don't forget, MLB First Pitch will be back at 1:45 Eastern today. I'll be on with another Philly fan, Matt Josephs, and myself with Drew Martin, talking about Game 5 of the World Series. So check out MLB First Pitch, college football show at 3 o'clock Eastern, NBA tip-off at 4:15 Eastern. So a ton of stuff today covering all the major sports here on Wager Talk TV. Download that app on your favorite mobile device as well. Let's get right to it. Let's talk Houston, Philly, in whatever order Adam Trigger wants to talk. We'll start NFL first. We'll save that baseball. We'll tease Game 5 in a moment, Adam. But welcome to the show. Our producer, Dan, a big Philly guy. We got Matt Josephs coming on the baseball show later, a big Philly guy. You're a New York guy, though, so we thought we'd bring you on to talk Philly, Houston. Let's talk first in the NFL, though. We do have the Astros and Phillies coming up. We're going to tease everybody, make them wait a second. Give me the NFL game first here. Huge line for Thursday night football, obviously. And, Teddy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember in my 25 years of doing this ever seeing a 2-touchdown home dog on Thursday night football. I vaguely remember even a double-digit home dog on Thursday night football, but we have that. And, Adam, how are you approaching this one tonight? Houston Texans, one of the worst teams in the NFL, getting almost 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, Steve. Well, I think this is probably 14 most places. Really pretty right before the show. I think Brandon Cooks is probably not going to play for the Texans. I think that's caused it to move to 14. I know there was some, rumblings about how, he might miss this game. There was some trade talk surrounding his name. But with or without him, it's too many points here, in my opinion. I know it would be easy to look and say, okay, the Eagles should smash this team. Let's just, lay whatever number. But if you look at the Texans and how they've played this year, they've yet to really give up in a game. The only time that I think you could say they've kind of just given up late was that Raiders game, where they were actually competitive for 3 quarters and gave up 21 points in the 4th quarter to lose 38-20. I look at their other games, go back to week 1, they tie the Colts, 3-point game against the Bears that they could have won. The Chargers is one that is similar to this in a respect where they were the clear lesser team. They dug themselves a big hole. They battled all the way back. And even till last week, right to the end, I like the Texans in a teaser. I gave it out to my clients, and after doing nothing all game, they still played hard right to the end, got the touchdown, got within the teaser number 17-10. And so I do think they're going to hang around in this game. It's still in Houston. It's a home game for the Texans. And the Eagles, I wonder if the Eagles really need to smash the Texans here, guys. Like, they know they can run the ball. They just saw Tennessee do it. They have a great offensive line. So they're probably going to control the clock, and they should be able to just kind of get first downs, have long drives, and run clock in this game. And they haven't been great in this dynamic, because the Eagles, the last 6 times they've played on Monday Night Football, they have failed to cover the game before. and they haven't been great as a road favorite outside of the division. So I think the line's way too big, guys. I'll take the 14 points with the Texans here.
So, am I overthinking this, Adam? I mean, Houston's one of the worst. If they're not the worst team in the NFL, they're one of the worst teams in the NFL. They're missing their two best wide receivers tonight. Brandon Cooks is going to play. Nico Collins is going to play. So they've got if they fall behind, they have no downfield weapons at all to catch up. Philly is dominant offensively. They're dominant defensively. They can run the football and score touchdowns running the football against a team that can't stop the run. I understand it's a lot of points, but I can't envision the scenario that the Texans play this team close. They're dismal. Philly's great, and I just can't picture it. So, what's the scenario? Is this Philly being out of sync? We haven't seen them out of sync at all. Is this Philly settling for field goals against a team that can't stop the run and Philly can run in the red zone? How do they hang around in this one?
No, I don't think it's Philly being out of sync. I just think that it's the NFL. Teddy, it reminds me a lot of Panthers Bucks from a couple weeks ago. Panthers just fired their coach, PJ Walker at quarterback. No one gave them any sort of chance in that game. Similar spread, 14-point game in Carolina, and they run the Bucks off the field. Now, I'm not saying that the Texans are going to run the Eagles off the field, and the Eagles are in a far better place than the Bucks were going into that game. But the Texans have Dameon Pierce, who, if they at least should be trying to run the ball, and I think they will, because of their issues with Mills at quarterback and at the receiver position. But the way this game plays out, you almost could look at the under, because I really do think both teams are going to try to run the ball. So there's just another way to look at it. 45.5 or whatever it is now seems a tad high. So I would look at the under, and I'll just, it's still the NFL. The Texans have shown the ability to compete with teams that aren't that far off from the Eagles, in my opinion, the Chargers being one of them. I like this Eagles team just as much as everyone else does, but they're not. I don't think they're the number one team in the league, Teddy. I still think that a team like the Texans on their home field can stay within 2 scores. So I'll split it. I'll say Texans plus the points and the under. And it's a little bit correlated because I think this game needs to stay under for the Texans to cover. That's how I see this one playing out.
Yeah, a little side total parlay correlation there. Adam Trigger says Texans and the under 45. And we've seen some ugly offensive showings on Thursday Night Football at times this year. So the under has been a decent play in some Thursday night games. Look, a 2-for-1 special, both Philly-Houston games here, NFL and Major League Baseball from Adam Trigger. If you like 2-for-1 specials, though, Brian Powers coming up next, our next guest. He and Adam Trigger have teamed up for a 2-for-1 3-day pass special. If you buy either one of them, you get the other one for free. So go to Adam Trigger's page right now, WagerTalk.com. You buy his 3-day pass. You get his best bets for 3 straight days, every sport, and you get Brian Power included for free, or vice versa. Go to Brian's page, you get Adam included for free. That's at WagerTalk.com. Adam Trigger and Brian Power, who is coming up in a few minutes. All right, we did the Philly-Houston NFL game. What would be more devastating to the city of Philly, them losing as a 2-touchdown favorite in Thursday Night Football, or the Phillies going down 3-1 in the World Series? That's probably the one that matters a little bit more right now. And, of course, second time in World Series history ever. Last night we had a no-hitter, first no-hitter ever. We'd had a perfect game back in 1956, but they took, 4 pitchers to get it done. Verlander going tonight. I'm really interested to see what you have to say about this one, Adam. We'll talk more about it on the baseball show at 1:45 Eastern. Me and Matt Josephs, Drew Martin. But Verlander, what is it, a 6.07 ERA now? He's never won going all the way back 15-plus years with the Tigers. Does he turn it around tonight? And I guess the other big question is, Noah Syndergaard got anything left to turn around as well?
Well, Steve, I cashed with the Astros last night. It was just my 3rd play of the MLB postseason, and I'm a perfect 3-0 with the Astros winning. And the reason I don't bet a ton of playoff baseball is because you're probably not going to beat the books on the number in the playoffs, and they're not going to make a mistake. So the only really way to bet it, in my opinion, is to find an overreaction and fade it or go against it. And I think you could make a case for the Phillies here because of that. The Phillies going into yesterday's game were 6-0 at home. The run disparity was something like 42-15. They had out-homered their opponents 17-6. Everyone loved them yesterday. They run into Javier, who's been as good as any pitcher in the majors in terms of like whip and guys on base this year. They hadn't seen him at all, and of course they struggle, which in my opinion is not a huge deal. They ran into a really good pitcher with his top stuff, and they couldn't hit him. Here, they go against Verlander, who's a big name, but they just faced him in game one. They got him for 5 runs on 6 hits in 5 innings, and they're still at home in really what is you let off, Steve, by saying that the Eagles could recover from a loss. The Phillies cannot recover from losing this game. They have to win here. They're not going to win 2 games in Houston, so it is a do or die spot, and they're still 6-1 at home. And Syndergaard pitched against the Astros twice earlier this year. The first one was his Angels debut, believe it or not, 5.1 scoreless innings, and he hasn't pitched since the 22nd of October, which was what Javier came into yesterday. Had he not pitched since the 22nd of October, he looked fresh and had his best stuff. The way I look at it, it's postseason baseball. I think the 1.5 for -130 is the play here. You remember, no ghost runners in the postseason, so you're not going to get mushed on. If this goes to extra innings, you're not just like looking at the Astros starting with a guy on second base. I think it's going to be a close game. I don't know that this series has entirely swung to the Astros like it looks like the betting public is thinking it is. So I think that line's a little understated. So I like the Phillies here plus the 1.5. It's do or die in this series for Philly. I think they give a nice effort at home, and at the very least, they can keep it within a run.
So from a series price perspective, yesterday at this time, the Phillies were in the -160 range. Today, they're in the +160 range. If you're playing on Philly to win tonight, would you play on Philly to win the series as well? Or, because clearly there's a fair bit of correlation there, isn't it?
Well, there is. It makes sense from a numbers perspective if that's how you want to play it, Teddy. Me personally, I don't know that Philly, even if they do win tonight, I'm not sure how much I love them to win this series. I still think the Astros will have an effort at home. So for me here, it's really Philly to play a game that they can win. Their bullpen's been outstanding all postseason. It feels like a close game. Obviously, last night's game was not close. This feels like a much tighter game. So I prefer the 1.5. I think -130 is pretty cheap for a 1.5 in this scenario, a game of this magnitude, a total where it is. But again, I guess I don't hate that move, but I'm not willing to say that they're going to win this series, even if they do win tonight. So Phillies plus 1.5 is kind of the only way I'd look here.
Yeah, and of course, Philly used 5 relief pitchers last night. They each only went 1 inning, but they did use 5 different relief pitchers. But then again, Houston, no hitter. They still had to use 3 different guys. They all went 1 inning as well. There will be a day off tomorrow. Even with the rain delay, they've pushed the game 6 and 7 back. It would have been Friday, Saturday. Now it's going to be Saturday, Sunday. There will be a game 6, of course, no matter what, in Houston on Saturday night. That is Adam Trigger, WagerTalk.com. Adam, let us know once again about that great 2-for-1 special with you and Bryan Power.
Yeah, so up until the other day, I was #1 units gained in football this season at WagerTalk, and Bryan passed me. He must just be winning these MAC games, because I don't know how I got passed on a Tuesday, Teddy, but he must just be rattling off MAC winners. I know he's a MAC guy, but anyway, I told him I'm coming for him this weekend, and then we decided let's just make sure everyone gets both plays. So if you go to my page or Bryan's page, you get all access for the weekend for both of us for the same, for one price. So it's basically a buy one, get one free. That's up on both of our pages now. It'll be up all weekend.
No promo code needed. You go there right now to either Adam Trigger or Bryan Power's page at WagerTalk.com. You buy their 3-day pass. You get the other one included for free. It's a 2-for-1 special, WagerTalk.com. Teddy, we're going to bring on Bryan in a few moments here, and we're going to look at some college football. And as Adam Trigger said, he's doing incredibly well in college football. But first, I want to know, it's a Thursday night. Midweek is always fascinating for me with Teddy covers because you never take any time off. But what did you learn last night on Wednesday? Anything special in Las Vegas?
Last night, I took some time off. I never do anything. Woo! You're right. But last night, my wife and son are big Hamilton fans. You ever sit through Hamilton? It's 3 hours, bro. But we sat through it. Look, I hate going out. Once a month or so, my wife's going to make me leave, and I couldn't watch NBA last night, and I was all mad. I did enjoy it. I got all the songs in my head today. So if you had a chance to see Hamilton, it was fun. What do we got? We got a pick there? Yeah, that's me and my son before the play started. So, but of course, you get home, and it's freaking 11 o'clock at night, and you got to sit down and go through NBA box scores. And I'm telling you, who are the bottom feeders in the NBA this year? That stood out to me all week. All right. One of the things we absolutely look for at the beginning of the season is let's start fading this team right now. They're no good. Let's start fading that team right now. They're no good. Oklahoma City, they're not a bottom feeder right now. They've won 4 in a row. Orlando has a ton of talent. They're not winning games all that much, but they're not a hopeless team. Detroit's not a hopeless team. The Pacers have talent. The Kings are way better than they've been. Looking around the league and NBA bottom feeders right now, I'm seeing like Houston. That's it. The bottom of the league is better than it's been. And maybe there'll be some value with some of these non-playoff contenders, like the Oklahoma City Thunder or the Indiana Pacers, or on and on down the line. So when it comes to NBA bottom feeders, at least right now for me, few and far between, there's value with some of these quote-unquote ugly underdogs. Steve?
Yeah, Teddy, I'm going to piggyback on that. A couple of days ago, I was talking about this. Actually, I think it was Monday, because I did the NBA tip-off show Monday. There were only 3 teams heading into even a week and a half in that had not covered at least 2 games against the spread. And as of Monday, it was the Heat, Lakers, and Nets. After Monday night, when the Nets lost, they were a combined 3-16 against the spread. Heat, Lakers, and Nets. 3 teams that, are perennially up there as favorites to win it all. The Nets are still the only team. They're now 1-7. Of course, Steve Nash was let go. So we'll keep an eye on that. I'm not sure anybody can get that team to play defense. But, the point is, early in the season here, the haves and the have-nots, the haves don't always play hard, right? It's load management, bigger picture in the horizon. And teams like Oklahoma City Thunder were just a cash cow last year as a double-digit dog. They always played hard. It seems like maybe that's the case again this year so far.
It's the exact opposite of football.
Yeah.
The exact opposite. In football, in September, you expect your juggernauts to come out and start kicking ass and taking names. That's exactly look what Buffalo did. Look what KC did. Look what Philly did. The good teams in September in the NFL crush it. And then you worry they start to get overvalued, and then there's all kinds of other issues. And the bottom feeders get smacked around at the beginning of the season. Oh, wow, we thought this team was going to be good. No, they're no good, and they know it. In the NBA, the season opens, and all the contenders are worried about what's going to happen in April and May and June. And they could give a crap about how well they play right out of the gate. And all the non-contenders are like, hey, we feel good. We got some talent. We got some energy. That doesn't always carry over to January, February, March. So in terms of handicapping strategies and philosophies for opening the season, the NBA and the NFL literally polar opposites. See what Brian Power thinks about that.
Yeah, and I'll bring in Bryan, get some thought. We're going to talk some college football with Brian Power. But, Brian, the one exception to that rule has been the Milwaukee Bucks, 7-0 straight up, 6-1 against the number. And what I'll say about Milwaukee is that they didn't exactly reach their level last year, right? So maybe that's why that is the one power that's coming out strong, like Teddy says they do in the NFL, because Milwaukee kind of has something to prove out of the gate. Brian, any NBA thoughts before we turn to college football?
Oh, those are good thoughts that you guys had. I think the team to look at in the East moving forward and long term is actually the Cleveland Cavs team. I watched last night pull out an overtime win against the Celtics, because are the Bucks going to be able to maintain? Oh, okay. I'm sorry, but the cat's out of the bag. But the Cavs are a team compared to the other preseason, the teams that were labeled as the favorites in the East. The Cavs care in the regular season, and piggybacking off what Teddy said, sometimes caring in the regular season, if you're a young and upcoming team, that means a lot. You're going to win a lot of games. I mean, the Nets right now, they stink. Sixers are struggling. Heat are struggling. So the Cavs, they've beaten Boston twice. Boston's, was thought to be one of the top teams. So, yeah, I mean, I know I'll stop talking now because Teddy wants me to be quiet, but the Cleveland Cavs, I think, are the team you want to pay attention to in the Eastern Conference right now. Dallas Mavericks, maybe in the West.
I didn't mean to be quiet. I'm like, the Cavs are our little secret,
Okay.
Don't talk.
That's
well,
it's a little secret for me because
up in ATS. Yeah.
They're actually a little secret for me too.
Well,
Here at home,
Cleveland has all the
makings
makings of the type of team that's going to continue their point spread success, as long as they don't develop a huge betting bandwagon. So if we can tamper the betting bandwagon on the Cavs, we're going to make money with them all month. Exactly. Shh.
And it's funny you say shoot, Teddy, because I always say it's quiet time in February when football's done before March Madness. Well, NCAA basketball starts next Monday, the day after possible Game 7 of the World Series. The next day, boom, college basketball is here. So we'll be talking some college hoops next week as well, my favorite time of year. And Brian Power excels there as well. Brian, you're excelling in college football from what I hear. A little birdie named Adam Trigger said you guys have a 2-for-1 combo special. Buy Adam, get Bryan. Buy Bryan, get Adam. However you want to slice it. Buy one, get the other for 3 days free at WagerTalk.com. Let's show them a little bit of your handicapping prowess in college football. Let's talk Texas Tech TCU. What you looking at this one?
Okay, TCU, let's give them credit. They're 8-0, but a lot of good fortune along the way. 5 times in the last 6 games, they've been involved in a one-score game going into the fourth quarter. Last week, I was on the college football show, as I am every Friday, talked about how Oklahoma State, who actually hadn't had a bye at all. TCU did have 1 week off in that stretch, but Oklahoma State had played a similar gauntlet. We all saw what happened to them when they went to Manhattan, got killed by Kansas State. I don't think it's going to be that bad here for TCU at home against Texas Tech, but something else I mentioned last week on that very same Friday college football show, the happy hour show, was I joked that maybe TCU was engaging with the little midweek, with the New York Jets, little midweek voodoo, because all that happens when these teams play are the opposing quarterback gets hurt. I've never seen anything like it, guys. TCU in Big 12 play this year, Dylan Gabriel goes down when they play Oklahoma. Kansas didn't have Jaden Daniels. Spencer Sanders was banged up when Oklahoma State and TCU go to overtime. Kansas State had to call upon 3 different quarterbacks in that game. It cost them the game. Now, West Virginia's JT Daniels, he made it the whole 60 minutes last week, and West Virginia should have covered that game. We all saw what happened. I don't need to remind WVU plus 7.5 bettors what happened. That was disgusting. Something similar happened to me, actually, a couple weeks ago in the NFL with the Colts and Jaguars. You know, when the ball goes in the air in that situation, you yell, oh, no, and you vomit all over yourself. It's just a horrible situation. We've all been there once or twice, but looking at TCU's opponent this week, Texas Tech, they're not shy about having their QB room share snaps. So I'm not going to be worried if there is another injury, which would be preposterous to an opposing quarterback for TCU. Red Raiders like to play fast, Teddy and Steve, really fast. Second in pace nationally. They average 3 plays per minute. Only Indiana is going faster. And I like the aggressiveness on 4th down. Certainly you can die doing that, but you can live by it too. And you know, getting points, that's how Texas Tech stayed with Oklahoma State for a while in that game. Texas Tech holds a win over Texas this year, who, by the way, I still consider to be the best team in the Big 12. So that carries a lot of weight with me. Texas Tech outgained Kansas State and Oklahoma State on the road. And last week's final score against Baylor, 45-17, misleading, in my opinion. There was 2 late touchdowns in that game as a result of turnovers. The turnover bug really bit the Red Raiders. This week, though, I think they go in to Fort Worth and they cover the spread. Take the point.
So here's the question, because Texas put a ton into last week's game against Baylor. They had them at home, an in-state rival. They expected to win that game. And as you mentioned, it was a 7-point game going in the fourth quarter, and it all fell apart for them. And now they've lost, 3 out of 4 or 4 out of 5. The defense has been getting gashed. They've given up 40-plus every week, and every one of those losses. Do they have the mettle to go on the highway against this? You taught me, everyone wants to bet against TCU every week, and all TCU keeps doing is just cover it, man. One of these teams, every week someone comes on. You know, I don't mean to point the finger at you, but literally for like the last month, every week someone comes on and said, here's why I'm betting against TCU this week. And every week they've, the end of the week, we're like, okay, who did well and who didn't? They haven't. So, I mean, to make a short question long, why? You know, why do we want to step in front of this team?
Well, let's talk about the situation for the Horned Frogs. Next week, who do they have on deck? Texas. And they're going to be an underdog in that game, and it's going to be funny. I think a lot of people on, next week are going to probably get cold feet when it comes to playing against TCU because they're going to be an underdog in Austin. And so maybe there's a look ahead. I don't know. Like I said, they've been through a lot these last 6 games. Let's not forget, they only beat SMU by 8. SMU's not great. So I just think the Red Raiders, with their aggressiveness and their tempo, Teddy, that's what they do. They're going to do the same thing every game. They've been running the same offense no matter who the coach is for years. I think they can stay within this number. I think they can trade points with TCU.
That is Bryan Power, WagerTalk.com. And once again, he is number one in college football, just past Adam Trigger. So you can get the top 2 college football handicappers. Buy one, get the other free. Buy Bryan right now on his page for 3 days. You get Adam Trigger included for free as well, WagerTalk.com. Let's look at one more college football game. And once again, Bryan will be back tomorrow on Friday at 3 o'clock Eastern. Adam Trigger will actually be on today at 3 Eastern on the College Football Show. Also, don't forget NBA tip-off at 4:15 Eastern. Tony's done it again. Mejia and Finn. My goodness, with Ronald Kabang. That is must-see TV. Don't forget to download the Wager Talk TV app as well. All right, let's talk about my sometimes Virginia Cavaliers against the North Carolina Tar Heels at noon Eastern on Saturday. Actually had Virginia last week, Bryan, and it was anywhere from 2 to 3, so it was either a push or a cover. 4 overtimes, and the final score is 14-12. If you told me you could get over 49 and get 4 overtimes, how much would you have bet on that ahead of time? That's why it's sometimes good we don't have the day after newspaper. But Virginia offensively challenged, to say the least. What you doing with this one against a very good offensive team in North Carolina?
Yeah, that had to be a real fun 3.5 hours for you, Steve, watching that game. So, look, this is a hold your nose situation. I am once again going to step in front of a train, that train being North Carolina. But for what it's worth, I'm 2-0 when giving out Virginia as a client play this year. And you talk about horrible games to watch. Both of those wins were horrible games to watch, both weeknight games. One was Syracuse, and then the other was Georgia Tech. Not games that I would care to rewatch anytime soon. You brought up that 4 overtime game, though, Steve. Of all the teams in college football that lost last week, okay, and Virginia, as you mentioned, 14-12 and 4 overtimes, they go down against Miami. None had a higher post-game win expectancy than the Cavaliers. 81%, according to the numbers. They should have won that game. And I know North Carolina quarterback Drake May is very good. There's no disputing that. But Virginia's got a pretty good pass defense, guys, holding opponents below 200 yards per game through the air for the season. And on the flip side, North Carolina's defense stinks, giving up 538 yards per game on the road. And I think this could be the game where Virginia quarterback Brennan Armstrong finally gets going. Coming into the year, the big question mark was how is he going to operate behind a rebuilt offensive line? The answer so far has been not well. But against this North Carolina defense, I think he has some hope. Speaking of on the road, guys, North Carolina, 4 road wins this year. They have not lost away from Chapel Hill. But those 4 road wins, by 2 over App State, they gave up 61 points there, by 7 at Georgia State, and by 3 at Miami, and by 3 at Duke. A lot of folks were looking to fade UNC last week against Pittsburgh for about 3 quarters. That bet looked pretty good. Pitt was winning outright, but then it all fell apart in the 4th quarter. End of the day, I just see the Tar Heels number 17 ranking being pretty fraudulent. You guys are sharp guys. Maybe you could help me out here. I don't know what we're doing with 5 ACC teams in the top 25 of the college football playoff. I mean, the ACC is not good. Other than Clemson, there shouldn't be a single ACC team in the top 25, in my opinion. And last but not least, if nothing else, this is the South's oldest rivalry. So throw the records out the window. Hold your nose. Virginia plus the points.
So I watched the entirety of the North Carolina-Miami game last week. I couldn't turn it off. It was a train wreck. I've been betting against Virginia pretty consistently. Brennan Armstrong has no offensive line and no receivers, which is why they're scoring 12 points in a 4 overtime game and settling for field. I mean, they had 100. And in terms of win expectancy, you're absolutely right. They had 1,000 chances to win that game. Miami really tried to give it to them, and Virginia wasn't good enough to take it. North Carolina, I had them last week against Pitt. And Gene Chizik, again, from a talent standpoint, the defense is there was talent on that defense. Schematically, they had a lot of problems early. They had an awful game at State. The eye test, the defense is passing it now. They give up big plays, but they're making stops. Are you worried at all that North Carolina's defense, with a pretty good coordinator in Chizik, a guy who's, we respect his defensive mind, and we expect a defense like that to get better as the season progresses because the talent is there, are you worried at all that North Carolina's full season-long stats on the defense side of the football are lying?
No, I would say I'm actually more worried about the North Carolina offense because obviously if they get going, Virginia's not going to keep up in a shootout. But again, I think this could be Virginia's highest scoring game of the year. Virginia's just been so disappointing. And you look at the way this line has moved, it looks like maybe I'm not alone in thinking this could be a hold your nose and take the point spot. Certainly, least one other person besides me seems to like Virginia in this game. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to cover or certainly win outright, but I don't know. I mean, what do you think? I mean, is North Carolina, do you think they're the 17th best team in the country? I know that you should not bet solely for that reason, just saying, oh, well, this team's way lower in my power rankings. But I just don't think North Carolina's really good. They're extremely lucky to be 7-1. I mean, maybe they start thinking about Clemson and dreaming the ACC championship game. I don't know. I just think this line kind of stinks, and it's one of those situations where Virginia, surprises a lot of people in that early window. Could be a sleepy start, Teddy, perhaps, for North Carolina at noon Eastern.
Yeah, put the defense in perspective. These teams have played pretty equal schedules. UVA gives up 4.8 yards per play. UNC gives up 6.3. It's over a yard and a half more per play defensively. So definitely the better defensive team getting points here as a home dog in UVA. That's Bryan Power. Bryan, I mentioned the 2-for-1 special. You got a World Series best bet for Game 5 tonight as well. What else you got going on at WagerTalk.com?
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me. I was hoping to come on the show today and say it was 9 straight winning days. Unfortunately, I had the under in that Pelicans-Lakers game last night, so I had to settle for 2-2 last night. And, so it's not 9 straight winning days, but I'll take a 27-9 overall run, 74, 34-2, going back even further. Adam was on earlier. We're doing the 2-for-1 special. Great deal. He's been number one most of the year. I guess I passed him this morning. I had the under last night on Western Michigan, Bowling Green. You talk about another real beauty of a game to watch. Western Michigan's offense is absolutely atrocious. I would not go expecting them to score a lot of points in any game the remainder of the season. But yeah, number one in college football last 30 days, number one overall last 30 days. So I'm feeling pretty good. I guess the name of the game is winning, and I'm doing okay.
Yeah, once again, that 3-day package is all sports. So you get every sport, baseball, basketball, football, from Bryan Power and Adam Trigger. Go to either one of their pages right now. Buy one, get the other for free at WagerTalk.com. Best of luck. Bryan will be back tomorrow at 3 Eastern on the College Football Show on Friday. Be sure to check that out. And we'll be back in about 30 seconds with some NFL talk. Big game breakdown, Sunday Night Football, Titans-Chiefs from Teddy Covers in 30 seconds.
Have you checked out all the new handicappers at WagerTalk? If not, here's your chance. You can take 50% off your first daily or 3-day all-access purchase at WagerTalk using coupon code TRYWT. Our new roster of experts is 30 deep, covering sports from all around the world, giving you tons of options to choose from. All you have to do to redeem this offer is go to WagerTalk.com, choose a handicapper of your choice, and use coupon code TRYWT at checkout, saving 50% on your first purchase.
It is time for today's big game breakdown. Let's talk Sunday night NFL action. The Chiefs and the Titans. Right now, look at the WagerTalk live odds screen. I'm seeing Kansas City. Let's call them minus 12.5, total 46.5. And the markets are waiting on the Ryan Tannehill news to see if we're going to see Tennessee money and over money, or if we're going to see Kansas City money and under money. That being said, from a total standpoint, I don't think it makes a difference this week if we see Malik Willis or if we see Tannehill for the Titans. And this is why. I'm not going to throw the football either way. All right, here's the quote from Mike Vrabel. This was 2 weeks ago after Derrick Henry ran for 128 yards on 30 carries. Quote, "That's going to be the formula if you guys haven't figured that out yet. That's how we're going to have to play." That's what the coach is telling us. He's going to hand the football off to Derrick Henry 30 times every game. And lo and behold, what happened last week? Another game that stayed well under the total. 4-0 to the total, to the under the last four. 17-10, 19-10, 21-17, 24-17. That's the way the Titans want to play. And if we see Willis versus Tannehill here, obviously Willis is not a guy who's going to throw the football downfield, but Tannehill is not healthy. They don't have a dynamic receiving core. It's not going to make a huge difference in the game plan. They're going to try to run the football 30, 35, 40 times in this ballgame, which is a great recipe for under bettors. And when the coach tells us, I'm an under better for my team, not in those words, we listen. These two teams played last year, 27-3. Titans shut down Kansas City completely. And we look at both of these teams' scoring numbers right now. Number 1 and number 2 in red zone offenses in the NFL, KC and Tennessee, which means their scoring numbers are a little bit inflated because all they've done is score touchdowns when they've had the chance this year. I'm not convinced that carries over to Sunday night. I'm expecting the Titans to try to really shorten the game. And let's look at this one as an underplay. 46.5, too high. Take Tennessee, Kansas City under the total. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Merrill.
Whew, I'm back. Oh, I was rummaging around the apartment here. You can't imagine what's in Prez's apartment up here in Toronto. Stuff will get you locked up in the USA. I'll just leave it at that. All right, let's move on. Kelly Stewart, our next guest. Kelly in Vegas. Kelly owns racehorses now. And Kelly, I didn't know about this till a few moments ago, but apparently you're moving betting markets as well. Yeah, the best replies. You tweeted out your horse yesterday, and I guess the odds went from like 12-1 to favorite pre-race. And the best is the one comment that said right after that, next time bet it earlier. And you're like, that's not how horse racing works. It just made my day reading that comment. But that's actually all seriousness. That's why I don't mess with the horses, because the whole key to winning sports betting long-term, other than money management, is locking in the best number. It's even more important than picking the right team, in my opinion. So that's what's frustrating. But hey, congrats. You're also, according to Johnny Detroit, number 1 in your fantasy league, $10,000 fantasy league. I think he's trying to kibosh you by saying that and wanted me to say that. So best of luck.
He's definitely trying to kibosh me. He's one of the lone losers. Marco, Johnny, and I, well, actually, Johnny and I have been bothering Marco D'Angelo for years about getting in on a pony. And he said, hey, listen, I got a really great buy. Here's what you guys got to do. You got to fill out all this paperwork, go get fingerprinted. It's quite the process. I had no idea. Better straighten up, did finish 4th yesterday. It's kind of a wonky start. The bit broke in her mouth right as they were going into the starting gate, so it delayed the whole race, which worked out well because I couldn't get logged into my TVG account anyway, so I'm on my phone FaceTiming Johnny, FaceTiming his iPad, trying to watch this race. I didn't bet it, but she also didn't go off as the favorite, thank goodness, but very close. A lot of people bet it, and lesson learned, don't tell everybody about the horse until after the race.
So let me get this straight. The horse was 12-1. You tweeted it. The horse went off at what, 2-1 or?
I think it ended up at 3-1. I'd have to ask Marco, but he basically texts me and Johnny and goes, "Way to go, you guys! Like, keep your mouth shut until after the race." And then Johnny basically texts back, "Now I know why you never tell me when Sin City Lori's running," because you know how Johnny is. We like to partake in some gambling. We like to partake in some side bets, and it makes it more fun. But come to find out, she did make a little bit of money yesterday. You get 8% of the purse coming in 4th place. So basically paid for our trainer and our feed. So we're not broke yet.
That's what I was wondering, is if 4th place was good for you as an owner. And it couldn't have been any worse, because if anybody didn't win place your show, 4th is like the worst possible scenario, because just missed out on the money like 3 different ways. But yeah, let us know the next time the horse runs. I will definitely be rooting for you, and I will not jinx you by betting on it. So we'll keep an eye on that. Iowa, it's funny. Brian Power just mentioned Western Michigan. We actually talked UVA. I mean, some really bad offensive teams. So it's cracking me up that we're talking Iowa, Purdue with you. I've been fascinated by Iowa this season. They're 4-4 straight up, but in my 25 years of doing this, there's never been a more extreme dichotomy between offense and defense on a football team, college or pro. I mean, their defense on the season gives up still just 15.5 points a game, and that's after allowing, 54 to Ohio State, 27 to Michigan. They still give up just 15.5. But as good as they are there, they're even worse offensively. Well, actually, they're 16.5 on offense. I guess they're technically better now, but 4.2 yards per play. They only allow 3.9. I mean, what are you doing with this one? Obviously, they're a defensive dog in this one. I know you love your dogs. Do you dare back them here against Purdue?
That's exactly what I'm doing here. Look, it's ugly. Does anybody want to back Kirk Ferentz's offense, or I should say maybe Brian Ferentz's offense right now? No, but they're both trying to save their jobs. The bottom line is I'm looking at this one going, wait a minute. Jeff Brom, he's been one of my great underdog bets over the last couple of years. And in fact, I had them catching double digits at Iowa last year, beating them in my parlay. And I'm going, okay, 11-point underdogs went outright last year. Now we've got Iowa looking for a little bit of revenge. And I think this is a real buy low spot on the Hawkeyes. The Boilermakers not used to being in this favorite position. In fact, Jeff Brom just 8-8 pretty mediocre as a home favorite here. But Iowa, and I sold this one from our good friend Mark Lawrence, Iowa 12-5 against the spread as a dog with revenge when coming off a straight-up ATS win under Kirk Ferentz, including 8-1 against the spread when not coming off a spread win of 13 or more points. So this is a tough spot for Iowa, but I do think if they want to make a bowl game, they've got to get a win here. Lions come down from 5.5 to 4.5. You guys know I love watching that line movement, especially when it agrees with my handicap. So I'm taking Iowa here. This is just an ugly week. I thought the NFL card was ugly. The college football card that I'm coming out with is absolutely putrid.
that's quite a ringing endorsement there.
Hey, you know what? The good news is all my plays are free, Teddy. So that's the good news. You don't have to buy them. I give you all of the muck for free on Twitter. Here you go, served up on a platter. Eat it if you want it. If you don't, that's on you.
So let me ask you about rest advantages at this time of year, because we do have a rested Purdue team coming off a bye, whereas Iowa, they certainly weren't challenged by Northwestern last week, but they played a game last week and not the rested and ready squad in this one. Purdue's also one game away from clinching bowl eligibility, which means something to that team. This is a game, in theory, they could do that. Do you worry at all about the rest edge and or the clinching bowl eligibility edge? Because that's something that one of Ralph Michaels' charts was like, watch out for those 5-win teams in November. When you bet on them until they get the 6th win, then you bet against them the week after.
Yep, absolutely. So that was actually a question that I had for Ralph this week on Bet On. I said, Ralph, can you pull me some actual data here to back this up? And it's a great segue into our next game as well. But so if you have a home team that is off a win, whether it's a home favorite off a home win or an away win, that kind of definitely dictates things. So if you look, I'll actually tweet out Ralph's chart or retweet his as well. The only time that it comes off as a benefit to you coming off the bye is either if you lost as a home dog or if you won as an away dog. If you won as a home favorite, it's about 50%. If you won as a home dog, it's about 50%. If you won as a home favorite, it's about 50%. So there's really not a lot of advantage there. But if you lost as a home favorite, if you lost as an away favorite, or you lost as an away dog, guess what? It is bad news for you. Under 45% on almost all of those. So I don't think that there's a big advantage here, but I am looking towards, of course, both teams wanting to become bowl eligible. I think this is going to be a knockout, drag-out fight. Teddy, I think the winner is by a last-minute field goal. This looks like one of those low-scoring, terrible Big Ten games that I hopefully don't even have to watch.
Yeah, total open 43 down to 39.5 now. Purdue a 3.5-point home favorite. My math simulation, for what it's worth, favors Purdue by 3, projects a 3-point win. So I think you might be spot on about that field goal win, and that would get the defensive dog Iowa to the betting window with a win. Let's look at your Kansas State Wildcats at home. Home dog against Texas Longhorns. Teddy mentioned rest and buys, later in the season here. Texas is coming off the bye. But what's interesting to me is they're coming off their 3rd loss of the season also. That was a devastating loss against Oklahoma State on the road as a touchdown favorite. I don't think they necessarily had playoff hopes with 2 losses, but they sure are out of it now with 3 losses, even though they've been playing pretty good football. What's your take on this one? Did the bye, is it going to help them? Are they going to come out flat still? Kansas State's a pretty live dog in this one, too. They've been playing good football.
So something I wanted to touch on, because Teddy and I have talked about, and that, full disclosure, I am not betting this game. I need K-State to win 7 games to cash my regular season win total over. One argument could be made that I should have already cashed that ticket. That being said, injuries pile up, and sometimes a good defense comes into town and K-State gets beat. I don't think that's going to be the case here, but one of the things Teddy and I talk about all the time is this elusive square dog. Well, what about those square sharp sides, right? Last week it was Kentucky. The whole world agreed with me on Kentucky, and it went down in flames. The week prior, it was UCLA. The week prior, it was Penn State. Well, guess what? I think this week is Texas. I love betting against ranked teams catching points almost all the time. It's almost automatic. I'm looking at Pitt this week as one of those in that same scenario. But this Kansas State team has figured out that they only have 1 quarterback. No, they've got 2. Will Howard, if Adrian Martinez isn't 100%, can go. They don't have to pull his red shirt till after 4. But this isn't a play on K-State or that defense. This is a play against Texas. And I get a lot of crap because I play against Texas a lot. And I've been doing this almost full time since 2013. I've been betting since 2009 on a pretty regular basis. And one of the things I've always learned as a Big 12 girl is that the Longhorns are so unpredictable. But what you can predict is that the bookmakers are going to give them that extra point and a half for whatever reason. And maybe that's because they have such a massive fan base that they know the money's going to pour on them. Well, the money's pouring in on here. I know a ton of really sharp guys that like Texas here, but Steve Sarkisian just 1-6 in Big 12 road games against the spread, 0-2 against the spread this season. They're 0-3 against the spread in back-to-back road games. Yes, I know they have that bye. 1-6 against the spread after said bye. This team is not back. I need everybody to relax. Again, I'm not betting K-State. I've already got a ticket in pocket to root for, but I want everybody to kind of take a look at this one from a different perspective, because I do think this is the when all the handicappers agree on Twitter that Texas is the play, I think you might want to look the other direction.
That's Kelly Stewart. Follow her on Twitter at Kelly in Vegas for our free horse racing tips and all of her free football best bets as well. And Kelly, real quick on the way out, what else you got going on? You got Bet On It, college and pro football editions here on WagerTalk TV. What else this week?
Yeah, right after this, I'm doing some college football games with Adam and Dave Koken. Got every game on the board with Drew Martin Bets. Going to do money shots with Megan making money. And I'm headed to Boston tomorrow, so I'm going to try to get my parlay video out earlier than usual. So busy Thursday for me.
Kelly Stewart at Kelly in Vegas on Twitter and on WagerTalk TV. Bet On It. Check it out. Teddy, we'll be back tomorrow on Friday, same time, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. And great shows today. And also don't forget baseball show, 1:45 Eastern, college football, 3 o'clock Eastern, NBA, 4:15 Eastern, everything archived 24/7 here on WagerTalk TV on YouTube and the WagerTalk TV app as well. Take us home.
Sure, that's going to wrap it for the Thursday edition of Wager Talk Today. We'll do it again tomorrow, same time, same channel, 9 a.m. here on the left coast, noon for you back east. Between now and then, you know what to do. Lots of games. Enjoy them. And good luck tonight.
Have you checked out all the new handicappers at WagerTalk? If not, here's your chance. You can take 50% off your first daily or 3-day all-access purchase at WagerTalk using coupon code TRYWT. Our new roster of experts is 30 deep, covering sports from all around the world, giving you tons of options to choose from. All you have to do to redeem this offer is go to WagerTalk.com, choose a handicapper of your choice, and use coupon code TRYWT at checkout, saving 50% on your first purchase.